Hello everyone, welcome back to the new video of this channel. So today in this video I am going to create that type of image slider using React.js. In this image slider, when we click on next button, our next image is displaying, and when click on previous, our previous image is displaying. So if you are ready, let's get started. I have opened the laptop screen and I have opened here a drawing tool to explain you the process of creating an image slider. First, it's necessary to understand the process graphically, because if you understand the process, then writing lines of code is easy for you. So I first explain you here graphically, then we will write a code. So to create an image slider, we need a one div, and inside the div we have images, and we also need two buttons. Like here we need a next, and here we need a previous. Okay, we fetch the images from array, and in the src of the image we use index of that array. Like initially index is set to 0, so show the image which is at the index 0, and we write the logic that when user click on next button, the index should increase to 1. So if currently index is 0, then by clicking on next button the index should be 1. So we write this kind of logic, and same in the case of previous button. I hope you understand it, and if you did not get the things clear, you have a chance to learn everything while writing the code. So let's move to write the code. I have opened the React project in my VS Code, and if you don't know how to install React in your project, you can watch the video given in I button. And for this project I am using Tailwind CSS, and if you also want to use Tailwind CSS, you can watch the video given in I button, that how you can install Tailwind CSS in your project. Otherwise you can do this project by using plain CSS. Now first let's start this project from terminal, and type here npm start. This will open our project in the browser. Our project is opened in the browser, and nothing is shown on the web page because we have not added anything. So let's open the VS Code, and in the components folder create a component with the name slider.js. This will be the folder where I create an image slider, and first export this component by typing rafc. Now we can use this slider component in any other component. So let's import this in our app component. Here slider. For verification that it is working, let's add here heading with slider. Okay, now let's open the browser, and here you can see slider. It means that our slider component is working. Now as I told you, I will use an array to store the images. So let's create the array with the name images, and I will store the images here. And I have downloaded the images from the browser and store it in the folder here. So I will import the images from here. You can use the images of your choice. So let's first import these images. I write here import image1 from /images /image1. Okay, so this will import the images from here. Similarly, I add all other images. So I have imported all the images. Now I can use these images in array. So let's use these images, image 1 2 up to 5. Now all these images are stored in the array. Now to create an image slider we need a div. So this will be our main div, and in this div we need an image tag which will get the images from array. So let's write here image tag, and write here alt image and src. For now I will use images of 0. So this will contain the src of image 1, because at index 0 our image 1 is stored. Let's also add some Tailwind classes here. I set the width to 300 pixels and also height to 300 pixels. So to make this div in the center, I will give the class name flex and justify center and atom center. Okay, now save the file and open the browser. Okay, this is giving the error. Let's see the error. Okay, we have to add the .jpg here. Now I hope error will not be there. So let's open the browser, and here is our image. We can give the margin to the image. So let's add here margin top of, let's say 24. Okay, now it is looking good. Now we need here next and previous button. So let's add these button. Here I add a button with the name previous, and here next. You can also use the icon of previous and next, but for now I am writing here previous and next. Okay, open the browser, and here is the button. We have to give some margin. So margin right to this and margin left to this. Okay, so right here class name, margin left of 8, and here in the previous button let's add the class name and margin right of 8. Okay, now buttons are looking good. Now let's make these button working so that when user click on next, the next image should appear, and when user click on previous, the previous image should appear. Open the code, and in the code we have to define a state variable. So let's write here const active index and set active index, and we have to write here use state, and its initial value is 0. Now I can write the logic that when user click on next button, set the active index state variable to active index plus 1, and when user click on previous button, set the active index to the active index minus 1. So let's write the code here. Const handle next is equals to arrow function, and set the set active index to active index plus 1. Okay, and same we will do in the case of previous. Handle previous and active index to minus 1. Now we have to make this src dynamic. So instead of writing here 0, I can write the active index here, because initially the value of active index is 0. It means our image 1 will appear, and when user click on next button, the 1 is added to 0, means our index is now 1, and at our index 1 the image 2 is there, mean now our image 2 is display on the web page. And when user again click on next, one more will be added to active index. It means that now index has a value of 2, and at index of 2 image 3 is present, so image 3 will be shown on the screen. Okay, I hope you understand it. Let's add the on click here and handle previous here, and in the next add the handle next. Okay, now open the browser and hope it will work. Click on next, and our next image is shown. Now again click on next, our next image is here, and if we click on previous, our previous image is there, previous. Okay, now hope you understand it. If you don't understand it, let me repeat it once again. So we have a state variable with the name active index and the set active index, and its initial value is 0. We are updating the active index by 1 if user click on next, and we are updating the active index to -1 when user click on previous. In the src of image, we are using indexes of images, and initially the active index value is 0, mean our image 1 will be there. And when user click on handle next, 1 is added to 0, and now active index has a value of 1, and at index of 1 there is image 2. And same in the case of previous. Suppose the active index has a value of 1, and when user click on previous button, its value reduced by -1, and previous image will be shown. I hope everything is clear to you now. Let's console log the value of active index to make things more clear. So I write here console.log active index, and open the browser here, open the inspect element, and open the console. Initially you can see its value is 0, and on click of next its value changes to 1, and our images also changes. and when I again click on next, its value increased to 2 and image changes. Now when I click on previous, value reduced by -1 and image also changes. Now let me introduce some bugs in our image slider. Okay, this is our first image. Now when I click on previous, nothing is shown because nothing is at index -1. And when I keep on clicking next, nothing is shown here after index of 4. Because we have 5 images in array, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when index is 5, nothing is shown, and when index is -1, then also nothing is shown on the browser. We can solve this bug by adding some if conditions. We can add the condition in handle previous that if active index is greater than 0, then make this previous button working. Otherwise, don't make this working. Okay, let's add the logic. Open the code, and in the handle previous, I write here if active index is greater than 0, then do this. Okay, otherwise return null. Open the browser to see the result. Refresh the page and click on the previous. I am clicking on the previous, but nothing is changing because we have added the condition. And now when active index has a value greater than 0, then the previous button will work. Let's see the result. When active index has a value greater than 0, then previous button is working. But if we have a value 0, then previous button is not working. Mean our image slider is working correctly. Now we have to add some condition on next so that we don't see that type of result. We can add the condition in handle next that whenever active index is greater than array.length, then disable the working of this next button, and when it is less, then enable the working of next button. So let's open the code and write the condition here. So I write here if active index is less than our array name images dot length. So what is the length of our array? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our array has a length of 5. But we are using indexes of that array in our src. So we have to -1 the value from this length. Because index is 4, you can count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And array length is 5. So we can -1 the value from length to make this working correctly. Save the file and open the browser. Previous here. Now click on next. It is working correctly. I am clicking on next, but our image is not changing. Mean our condition is right. So when I click on previous, it is working. When I click on next, it is working. Now I can add the one more logic that when index is equals to last atom, that in this case is 4, when index is equals to 4, then on click of next button, our first image should be appear. This will make our slider keep working. Now when I click on next, nothing is happen. Let's open the code and write this condition in the handle next. So I write here if active index equals to images dot length -1 means last atom, then set active index to 0. Okay, now open the browser and see the result. Refresh the page. Next, 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 and here is 4. Now click on next. Our first image is displaying. In our condition is right. I can add the same logic to the previous, that on click of previous our last atom will show. So I can write the logic that when active index is equals to 0, then set the active index to the last atom. Open the code and in the handle previous, write here if active index is equals to 0, then set active index to last atom, mean images dot length -1. Okay. Save the file and open the browser, click on the previous, and our last image is there. Now our slider is working correctly, everything is going fine. When I click on next, our first image is shown, next, 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 and same in the case of previous. This is our first image, and when I click on previous, our last image is there. So this is how you can create an image slider using React.js. I hope you understand it. But if you have any query, you can ask in the comment. Also suggest me the topics to make our next video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.